Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I'm Sunny Pancholi, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with industry stalwarts interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim to achieve with these sessions, a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge sharing community. We have one such great personality on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Lieutenant Colonel Raghu Nair. He is a seasoned veteran Army leader with 38 years of expertise in both the military and corporate sectors and possesses a strong sense of strategic planning, operational acumen and vision, coupled with astute business excellence. He has a proven track record in managing all aspects of operations, including real estate acquisitions, design conceptualization, transitions, business mergers, sustainability initiatives, physical infrastructure management, and equipment lifecycle management. He has served a dedicated period of around 12 years at TCS and has accomplished some groundbreaking feats, namely, he oversaw the smooth operations of more than 7 million square feet of IT infrastructure across 6 different locations and managed a team responsible for providing administrative support to over 87,000 direct employees and 2,000 support staff members. Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, Mr. Nair.
Thank you very much, Sunny. It is a pleasure to be on FaceTime with you, and I take this opportunity to, express myself in what capacity I have worked and share with you all my experience.
Pleasure is ours, sir. So, Mr. Nair, could you sum up your career journey for our viewers today, please?
Sure, thank you. My career, and as you said, the first part is in 2 parts. One part is the part which I was in the Army, and I served there for 23 years. And the balance, almost 15 years, I was in the corporate. So having said that, I come from a defense background, to say that my dad also was in the Army. So in the 80s, when we passed out from college, and the normal thing was either you become an engineer or you become a doctor. Otherwise, you get into a defense career or any services from the government. Job opportunities were not many. And that was something which always, was at the back of our minds, and so also the back of the minds of our parents. So that's why there were very, very limited, fields that we had to go into. Having done my graduation in pure science of physics and chemistry and mathematics, I tried I wanted to join I had 4 choices of joining, whether the Army, to do my MBA, to be a chartered accountant, or else continue on my forte of studies further. I chose the Army. At that phase, one asks oneself, how can you be independent at the earliest? That was what drove me, and how to be self-reliant. So any other field, I had thrown a lot of, spanners into the thought process, saying that whether I would be getting the right job, would I be happy? So defense services was there. I knew what it was from a perspective of a child, and I could travel a lot. I could see a lot of lot of the country. And a lot of people say you serve the nation. At that point in time, let me tell you, any child is, because you're still a child, you just transition from a adolescent, from a teenager to a man. You are not very capable of making your decisions, which would be correct in your lifetime. Anyway, so this is but you so that's why I chose the army, and I was happy about that. I enjoyed my training, having got commissioned into the Corps of Electronics and Mechanical Engineers. I did my BTech and my MTech while in the army. So I'm basically got to be a communication engineer, and I was in the support role for the army to fight. So it obviously saw that I did a lot of travel. It gave me a lot of challenges in terms of raising. I was involved in raising a new unit. When you say to raise a new unit, there is a requirement which is felt, and the army decides that a new part of a new formation is to be done. So a new unit is raised by bringing in resources from all other places. So you're the selected lot, the selected few who get identified, and you get positioned there. And then you got to you have absolutely no resources, in the sense I was posted in a place called Nagaon, and it was an electronic warfare equipment support system that we had to raise for the electronic warfare unit. And that was a big challenge. That was I was commanding a company at that point in time, and we had to get people, we had to get equipment, we had to get, it is like starting a entrepreneur kind of a thing, but you have the support of the government, you have a structure. Thereafter, we moved on. As soon as that was, we had barely finished completing that. We had not even declared ourselves to be operationally fit. That's when we had to move in for Op Vijay, and we moved into the desert. We sustained, the communication that was required, and the repair cover that we had to provide for in the desert region. So that was a really fantastic experience that I've had, raising that unit and moving into a battle scenario, wherein we had to work day in and night out. It was sick, those almost 1 year we were deployed there. That was, I mean, I cannot describe everything here, but that was a very challenging task, and that we had to take on. And soon after that, we had come back. I got posted to a different place. I was again posted to, we again came up with Op Parakram. And Op Parakram saw us again in the deserts. I was again deployed in the deserts with a different unit. It was an infantry division that I was associated with. Again, repair cover to an artillery unit, direct support. That was a fantastic challenge again. When I came into this unit, and having the background and experience of Parakram, I did a complete equipment analysis of the vehicles that these people held and the guns that they had. That helped me, and putting up to the top leaders, the brigade commander and the divisional commander, saying that we need to, most of these equipment had lived their lives, and we had to rotate it. In the sense, you salvage that, you get new equipment. I started doing that, and it was accepted. Presentation was given, it was accepted. I started, and things, and by the time nobody knew that we were moving into Parakram at that point in time. But my activity had started from the day one that I had reached there, practically, because I did this a complete study. I inspected, and we call it inspection. You call it, in the corporate world, it's the audit. I audited the equipment, and I came up with this particular plan. It was accepted and done. So that is a fantastic, again, experience that I've had. wherein we backloaded a lot of equipment. It was a huge amount of equipment which was backloaded, and by the time, as you know, it was like providence that Parakram was declared. We were to mobilize, and all the new equipment started coming into for the equipment. So we were absolutely war prepared in that division as far as the artillery brigade was concerned for getting into action, and that is a fantastic experience that I've had. The next thing I would say, soon after that, of course, I went into high altitude. There again, I was sustaining the equipment which was obsolescence. That means it is being used, but it's already lived its life. The OEM has already said we cannot give you any support. I repaired those equipment and made sure that the equipment sustained communication between Dras, that is Srinagar, and Udhampur. So this was a link that I had to sustain, and there was not a glitch, single glitch. It was at that time when the Srinagar exchange was blown off by the terrorists. So it was not only the defense services communication links that came onto this link. It was also the the equipment. We had to give 4 lines of communication for civil administration. That is the DC, and the complete civil structure did not have any communication which could go through to Udhampur and beyond. So that communication also was, partly supported by me, and it was through our link that it went through. It was mind you, that equipment was absolutely obsolescence, and it was in spite of that, I sustained it without a single glitch. Sustained for 4 months, 4 months to have no glitch in a high altitude area where in winters it goes absolutely minus 20, 25 degrees Celsius. And it was a tough job, and we did it. So that was, again, a achievement. I felt feather in my cap for that. Second thing, finally, I moved out of the defense forces in 2007. It was basically because my parents were not too well, so I had to personal reasons. I had to get out of the army. I moved out of the army and got into the civil corporate sector. My first foray was with a jewelry manufacturing industry, wherein I saw, uh, you know, I did not have any. They took me as a technical head. So when I, reached there, I saw the structure was very lean, and it was 2008. That was the time the recession was coming in, and that is when I got this job in Kerala. It was one of the listed companies, so the company-wise it was good. But there is where the difference I realized, between the civil and the corporate, how every action of yours is measured in terms of cash over here. And this company, within 3 months of my joining, was into red. So we worked hard. We had to do a complete revamp of understanding what the company was going through, what was the structure, what was the pay structure, though I was the technical head, we did a complete review of the thing, what was the product analysis, everything, and how we should go forward with, sales. So they used to produce everything in Cochin SEZ and export 100% to Germany. And so we did that, and the management decided to cut short the managerial force that they had. And finally, I was heading that place. We managed to turn it from red to green in that period of recession. So within 1 year. It was a very tough journey, but a fantastic learning that I've had. So after that, I was practically heading that place. And then I thought there were other reasons that I felt that it was time for me to move on. So I moved on. I came back to Hyderabad. and joined the wireless data tele info services, which is a Tata Group company, and then moved on to TCS. TCS journey has been fantastic. During WTTL tenure, I saw the merger of three companies in Mumbai. So there was a fantastic exposure of how operations can get affected. I was a regional head for Mumbai, Andhra Pradesh, and Orissa for technical aspects. And being a tower company, we were spread out quite a bit. WTTL had more than 28,000 towers in those days. It had merged with a company called Quipo and then called itself Viom. 21st Century was the third company which had come into. So that was all these three companies were operational in Mumbai and Maharashtra. So that's where I saw the entire thing. I had to form a team there. I had to make sure that the cash flow was there in place. I had to see that the new company members, I mean, the other two companies accepted our method of working, and the operations went on smoothly without any glitch. Finally, they moved the entire hub from Hyderabad to Mumbai, which I was not prepared to move on with. So I came on to TCS. That began my journey with TCS, and it stayed on for the next 12 years. Wherein, I I saw it was a totally different ball game, from manufacturing to maintenance of tower companies onto IT maintenance of and sustaining IT infrastructure in terms of physical infrastructure, and making sure the equipment and the people are good to go. So in TCS, it was a roller coaster journey, ups and downs. A lot of we created new space workspaces. We grew when I took over. As when I joined, it was close to about 28,000 people. When I took over as head, it was about 45, and when I left in October, it was close to 90,000 people. So we grew very exponentially during this period of 12 years. And it was a complete team game that we had to orchestrate to make sure that we could even face the pandemic during the last 3 years, that we have seen a lot of activities, which was unprecedented. Which was, we were, it was a blind alley that alley that we were all into. We had to actually see that we had to create the new path, the new processes, the new way, and guide people how it is to be done. Understand what are the precautions, understand what are the dynamics in terms of get a lot of permissions from the government, and then move on to make sure that everybody, the business continued without any uh, break, and the risk was completely mitigated. So that was a fantastic experience that I've had. Just to quote another number that we had in TCS Hyderabad alone, the transportation that we brought people to the office was to the close to the tune of almost over 2,500 trips of cab movements a day, which is which I think is fantastically huge number. That's the TCS number. This is where I understood how to handle scales, numbers of scales. So that's my journey, and it's been a complete team game always. It is never alone. That's my journey. So I
Mr. Nair,
superannuated
thank you for the
TCS.
Mr. Nair, thank you for the excellent start to this interview. And I must say, it's an honor to interact with someone who exudes such a strong personality. Continuing our conversation, we would like to know that you worked for the Indian military and then moved on to the corporate sector. So, did you face any challenges during this transition phase? If you did, then how did you tackle them?
So the first challenge, you see, in the army, we are trained to face the unexpected. And when during my transition, first thing of fortune that I had was I was in DGQA for about almost 1.5 to 2 years in my last stint. That is Ministry of Defense Quality. It comes under the Ministry of Defense, and you have a lot of civilians there. So the transition to move into a civil environment was not very difficult for me. The second part is what to expect when you come out to the civil into the corporate world. First thing that you find what is missing is a structure. You know, you have a job description, you have a job role, but there is no structure for necessarily a structure which supports the entire operations. It is very flexible. That's the first thing that strikes you. And that is one thing which we had to get used to. And that hits you because, you are used to a structure. And when I say structure, it is inherently, it will have a backup. So today, the industry, I'm talking about 15 years back, what it was. Today, the industry talks about what is, sustainability, what is your backup plan, what is the next level of hierarchy that is there. But it was not so 15 years back. There were, maybe it was to some extent, it was that concepts were seeded. Some of the industry leaders did, leading firms did take on that, but the others, most of it, I would say, did not have a structure. Even today, I would say most of the companies do not really think about the structure, because that invariably says it reduces your flexibility, they say. But okay, you have to really, but having a structure has its advantages. So this is one thing which strikes you in the first go. See, as a defense officer, you're trained in various aspects. You can handle technical aspects. You can handle administrative. You can have processes. You can have any risk management done. Everything. But when you are faced in an interview, what is the other person really looking for? He may look at business acumen there, which you will have in a different way, but you may not be able to word it the right way, in the word which is appealing to them. That is the challenge. That's the first challenge that you face right at the time when you're appearing for an interview, because the jargon is different also. So that was the first thing that I faced in terms of this thing. Then, see, the next is when you are in a civil setup, every action of yours is measured for the monetary aspects. So in the defense, you step out extra. You have that drive. You have that thing. You have to have that initiative. You have to have that. You don't look at the cost there necessarily. The goal is important. The Because the cost is the cost of saving the nation and maintaining its integrity. There is no cost to that can be attributed in terms of cash. You have to understand that you have to move away from that particular aspect of thought process and come into the civil setup, wherein you understand how to measure all your activities. So this is another challenge that I felt it is there, and it continues to be there in many of the operations in many of the firms, and especially when it comes to administrative actions. Measuring administration is a very, very difficult task, and you can have those key parameters which would try and indicate, but it's not holistic yet. So these are the things that I would like to tell you.
Okay, rightly said. So, building on that, here is my next for you. What values do you think the corporate sector needs to learn from the military?
Okay, that is, see, the army has a very structured way, as I mentioned to you. It has the Army Rule and Army Act. All right, so discipline is something which is inherent over there. And when it comes to a corporate life, discipline is instilled and tutored. You see, what happens in the defense, any of the defense services or the civil services, is that you, as I mentioned to you, I'll go back to the structure part of it. You have a training, and then you're trained for the job that you're taking, and then you step into it. Here in the corporate life, it's always OJT. Now, uh, any graduate who's coming in, or a postgraduate who's coming from the university, he is he knows lots. He's very enthusiastic, but the companies need to, really train him for a period. Now, that training period is something which the company has to understand and review over a continuous period. See, today training, what is happening is training is being pushed onto, uh, webinar and things like that. But in-person training is very important, I feel, because that is what is lacking, and that is where from the defense we can bring that particular aspect. When it comes to training in person, every training in the defense forces is always in person. So you know what the other person is responding. You know how to interact with them, whether to be, to use, all the Sam, Babe, Dand, whatever it is. All these aspects need to be understood. Another thing, when it comes to the managerial force in any of these sectors, they go through a rigorous interview process, selecting them by a process of for leaders. Here, you test him only for his skills. Leadership training is given, and in most of the cases, there's a selection process is not through by understanding what is his leadership qualities and leadership skills. So there is where the defense forces can really contribute again. So identifying the leadership skills and leadership traits of a person is very important for any company to move on further. So these are some of the aspects that I felt that it is very valuable. That is what I have to say with respect to this thing. Of course, what we bring from the defense services, needless to say, is a lot of integrity, dependability, and that aspect of is goes unquestioned. Of course, aberrations is always there, but as a whole packaged, material, what we bring forth is that we are trained to be leaders from day one. It is not that we are trained on a skill and then trained to be a leader. If we are trained, if we nurture, you used the word nurture in your introduction today. That's a very important word. One aspect with every defense officer is that he can nurture. He has the trait of nurturing. I'm afraid I don't see that in the corporate across the board. That's it. I
All
hope
right,
I'm
Mr.
answering.
Nair. Definitely, you did. So before moving ahead to the next question related to the previous one, I would like to know uh, casualty in military and cash burning in corporate. How can we minimize it?
Casualty in the army, there's one saying which very clearly says, you you sweat in peace and you bleed less in war. So it is only practice, rehearsals, practice, training that makes a person lose less blood in war. Rest is destiny. Okay, and when it comes to understanding what is the losses that you have in corporate, um, in terms of money going out in corporate, it is today we are at a very beautiful cusp in technology, wherein we can automate and process the everything what is defined in words as a process can be translated into technology seamlessly. That is possible. The AI coming in is taken it to the next level. That we should leverage absolutely. I'm afraid even big companies do not leverage technology at the grassroots levels. You know, whenever you do take up technology to be utilized, you should understand what you want on the top at the leadership level. You should also understand what is there at the ground level, what you're practicing. While you bridge these two together and not, and you lace it in such a way that you don't affect the operations. So you may have to tweak certain operational processes. You may have to tweak certain methods. So if you bridge these two with technology, I am sure you can easily understand where the leakages are, and you can do a fantastic analysis at every level. But there is a requirement. If you bridge it completely seamlessly, it is like a human body, right? Your entire body senses are in place. So what happens when you get a small uh, prick on your if your shoes are not comfortable, you will automatically change the shoes. If you get a while you're walking, if you get a small a pebble which hurts your soul, your spinal cord takes care by the reflex action. So the brain knows it at a fraction of a second later, but the action is already taken at the spinal cord level as a reflex, and you will dust it off. In the next step, if you happen to get your nail cut off, you will definitely sit down. That is a major injury that would be needed to be addressed with a bandage. So there, your complete system gears up for that. But after having got that bandaged, the next time a stone again, hits you again on the same leg, again the reflex takes it on. So when you're talking about leakage, two aspects to it. A lot of things don't go reported because of fear of what will happen to them at various levels in the hierarchy. So when you are in a position to understand that, you tell them that yes, it's a process error, we will rectify it. If it is a deliberate fraud, then you remove. So you should have a very clear-cut understanding in your so everybody has to work together for that. It has to be that you have to understand what is happening on ground, and decisions have to be taken appropriately at various levels. That is what I was trying to draw an analogy with the human body. Reflex, you putting a small bandage or probably going to the hospital and this thing. So various levels, decisions and actions have to be taken. The top level management has to come to know of it, but they don't have to react for everything. So that is what I feel will bring in a complete structured way of eliminating cash flow to be under control, understand what is the expenditure, and also understand if there is any kind of leakage, whether it is deliberate or inadvertent, it can be arrested. Inadvertent can be arrested by converting process into technology, bringing in technology. And a deliberate fraud can always be identified by any kind of whistleblowing system or any other those kind of systems, which is already in practice, very much in practice. That's what I have to say.
Great, rightly said, Mr. Nair. And since we are talking about technology, so here is my next for you. And technology is an integral part of our lifestyle nowadays. So, what transformational changes in your industry have you seen with changes in technology? And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of technology like AI, ML, blockchain, Web 3.0, big data, etc.?
So, your first part of your question, what I have seen in my corporate life is technology. When we started off in 2000, I mean, when I started my journey in the jewelry industry, there itself I had brought in, some, automation to the extent of trying to bring in the right kind of combination and measurements system automated so that there is no human error with respect to mixing the right proportions of various metals for a particular uh, metallurgy that you required. So I had brought in that kind of a weighing system there. So coming on to the when I was handling the tower system, there again it was a very raw system wherein they were handling on Excel sheets. We tried to automate those and bring in our entire process and governance both into a particular automated structure where we could see this on a single window at various where you could dig down deep and then you know those are very small stints that I've had. While in TCS, we've seen a lot of changes that has been it's a big company, and that's where I realized what numbers do, what the huge uh, what you buy in terms of a small quantity and it may just cost you 2 or 3 rupees, but when it gets multiplied by a few lakhs, then the numbers make all the difference. Volumes make all the difference. So there is where we utilized technology in terms of understanding how transportation can be handled, how purchase can be handled, and how we went on to the Ariba for purchase and procurement and procurement that was to be done for the company. All the vendors were onboarded on that particular platform. So we saw these kind of transitions in the thing. Coming to the workspace as such, we had to convert a lot of our workspace from the traditional IT sector space that the IT sector had in terms of the traditional seating to the agile methodology. So for agile seating spaces, we had to create literally retro modify the entire space that we had. And come pandemic, after that, we had a lot of things which had to be automated in terms of movement of systems, getting the systems back, and so that is a lot of technology that we had seen, which was used. We've seen a lot of that. We had to use, make do with a lot of things in terms of access control, who would be link the access with the person who's supposed to be scheduled to come that particular date. So if he's scheduled to come, he will give his that his willingness that he'll, after giving a declaration in the system, then he's cleared in the system provided he has taken both the doses of medication for the vaccination, and then he's permitted to come inside. So that basic check is done, but he has to also do a basic acknowledgement that yes, today he's fit and he's coming. So that kind of a interlinked automation was also seen in TCS. So we could actually figure out as to who came in, who went out, how many were affected with pandemic. We had created a space for even the um, people who were not very much affected, but who wanted just isolation. We had created a space for them in the office. So that kind of automation we had seen, a lot of technology that was used in that. That's about the technology that we had exploited.
Great, great. Uh, okay, Mr. Nair. So, as an ESG and corporate governance expert, what values do you bring to the table for the corporate world?
You see, you mentioned about resources of human life. So ESG basically focuses on making sure that all the resources that we have as a human being, we use it correctly so that it is sustained for the next generation. So that is, it is inherent. So if I say that what I bring from the defense services, I'm not sure if you've had the opportunity to drive through any cantonment area or the defense area in any of the cities in the corporate cities. In the urban cities. If you have, whether it is Delhi, whether it is Mumbai, in certain places in Mumbai, or Pune, or Hyderabad, Bangalore, whenever you pass through one unique factor you will find is that it's all green. You will find that there is a footpath, there are speed breakers there. You will find that there are, there's no unnecessary lighting. It will be just bare minimum required. And there is, most of the buildings are concrete buildings. Now, when you come to, so I come from that particular background where we know what is the value of nature, because if nature did not support us, we would not survive, because that is the basic essence. Our resources are limited in the defense services, and we have to live within the resources that we are provided for. We can't expect that the government will give us overnight something different. Even our troops, as a commanding officer, you cannot give him a hike in salary. The only thing that you can give him is annual leave, is casual leave, and make sure that his family, he goes on leave when he wants, and make sure that he's, when he comes with his family, they are respected and they are kept engaged. So there's lots to learn as far as that aspect is concerned. The camaraderie that we have in the defense services, the reach that we have, we know the people's name. It's not just his employee ID or his name. We know exactly from which part of the country he is. We know how many children that he has, whether he's married or not, whether he's what is his aspirations of his children. To that extent, the officers know. So it builds a bonami and it is just not a business connect or this thing. So when it comes to sustainability, when I said resources are limited, our power is limited to the extent that we make sure that the power is utilized correctly. The water supply that we get, we make sure that it's always kept clean. Whatever we can utilize in terms of making the place green, we always make that endeavor to make it more beautiful. So that's where the defense services can teach a lot to understand what the corporate world needs to learn. I would extend it beyond the corporate. The government also has a responsibility for sustainability, which should then get dovetailed into the other thing. It's happening in certain pockets, but not everywhere. What I mean is, when you look at a place, if a place can have all its education, the medical requirement, the complete. That is how when you're rated for your for ESG for lead certifications, the ratings also nowadays it has gone to that extent that what do you have around, what are you doing for your community, that they are saying. But the government also needs to plan it accordingly. That is important. So there is where there is a requirement of a hybrid involvement of the government and the corporate more closely, which is still lacking. Wherein he says, okay, so many square feet of residential area, so much for education, so much for healthcare, so much for shopping. You will automatically reduce your travel time, your family's travel time, your, when you don't have, you make sure that the hospitals and everything is within the same close vicinity, things will automatically reduce. Government needs to make sure that the roads are straight and absolutely turn at 90 degrees. We left it somewhere in Mohenjo-daro, Harappa. Now all these things are so the thing. Just imagine if roads are straight, the distance traveled is lesser, you spend less of petrol, and your green footprint is reduced. When you have everything close by, you have less traffic moving around. Automatically, your traffic reduces. Requirement of people going outside would only be for holidays, not for the daily chores and daily routines and job related things. Then they can plan better things so that the corporate and the government can work together. So that's a very, very high level thing. But I don't know, India going forward in a big way, I think there is a requirement of understanding this, which some cities are doing, but not all. But the new ones needs to be paid more attention to so that it can really sustain them. So in TCS, during my TCS tenure in TCS, we had very beautiful. We had 3 campuses which are absolutely green. We had peacocks. We had, you know, uh, we had a lot of greenery over there. In fact, more than, the government says more than 60% of the space that we had was absolutely green. And when I say green, I mean green by trees and not by lawns, because lawns and those palm trees don't really give you the greenery in the true sense of the word. So, and we made sure that all our power was utilized correctly. TCS Hyderabad, I made sure that we applied for the renewable energy contract with the government. We were the first IT company to do it in this place. So 100% of TCS Hyderabad is green in that aspect. When it comes to the solar power that we generated, TCS Hyderabad had the highest, almost 5 megawatts of power that is being green power that is being generated, which is the highest in TCS across India. So and when it comes to all our campuses, we have 3 campuses. It was zero discharge. So that is where we stood, and that's where we practiced and brought things to reality. I hope that answers you.
Amazing, amazing. That was so insightful of you, Mr. Nair. Okay, so we are heading towards the last question of the session. And the Global Thought Leaders community for cross-pollination of knowledge and a community of independent directors for having a better corporate governance in the country. So what are your thoughts about these initiatives taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the whole team of WTC?
Well, the whole team of WTC, led by both the stalwarts, Mr. Zishan as well as Heval Mehta, I think you come up with a very novel idea, and you're doing a fantastic job. Let me tell you. You see, the thing is that you are not only connecting people of my age and experience. You've opened up a complete, insightful journey for a person who can aspire to go beyond his corporate life and understand things holistically. See, we read a lot on these compliances and other things, processes. There are a lot of Company Act, everything is there in place. So while you're into operations, you don't have the time. You read that as an act, you read as a compliance requirement, and you do it. So whether you do it or you avoid it, should you avoid it? There are many people who would say, why this at this stage? Why do we need this? We're doing it. Like, काम करना है, चलो करते हैं. Is there a shorter way to do it? But no, this is the way, this is the compliance required. It has to be done. You've given a platform where people can understand the gravity of the entire situation. So what is the perspective from the top? What is required? and that percolates down to the operational people. I think it is a fantastic job you've done, because that is very important, because down at the ground level there is that casual attitude, that which runs people into various troubles. Need not mention all, you name it, all troubles landed up basically because they don't understand the gravity of the situation. So while you may have the processes, you may have the rules of the company, need to know, you may have webinars and you may have web training to the people, but to translate it into what exactly happens on ground and how the directors who's sitting at the helm of the affairs, how they see it, I think you're given a fantastic platform, and you people are driving it really great, and that is important. And you've achieved that. So I'm sure you will grow forward. You will have more ideas, and you brought in people, with a lot of experience also, and you both are important, with experience and people who don't have experience, because they are the ones, people who don't have experience, the youngsters, they are the ones who will tell you what the problem on ground is, and the leaders will have a better understanding how to sort their problem out. It doesn't become a blind, that this is what I'm saying, this is what you do, and that's it. No, you have a proper, it opens out communication. That is, in ESG, one of the most important things is communication. People, you've done that. Thank you, and kudos to all the entire team.
Thank you, Mr. Nair. Your expertise and passion for the subject matter were evident throughout the interview, and it was so inspiring to witness your dedication to excellence. Mr. Nair, it was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire the future leaders. So thank you so much for joining us today. Wish you the best for your future endeavors. And moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute has unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. Thank you, Sunny. Have a nice day. It was wonderful interacting with you. Thank you for all the insightful questions that you've tingled my brains with.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.